Well, we've decided to start SEC play. Auburn has a really good team, very physical on the offensive line. Um, Obviously, Hunter is a great running back. Their quarterback they brought in, Brown, had an exceptional game, 4 touchdowns, and can really sling the ball. They protected him well. They've got good wideouts, tight end, the transfer kid from FIU, and they have extra. But uh, Coach Freeze always uses tight ends well. Very physical guys. Fairweather really can run routes and catch. Good player. They're really good offensively. Defensively, a little different than what the coach was at A&M. A lot of odd, 3 down, a lot of blitzing. Over half the snaps are that way. They're using McLeod, their line McLeod, their Jack linebacker really well. He makes a lot of plays. I like Falk kid, the defensive end, 15. Already has 3 sacks on the year. Long, good player, great corner in Scott and safety and nickel and Smith. Run to the ball, look like an SEC team. On special teams, one of the best special teams coaches, Tanner Burns, is obviously you guys know he was here, but he's a great coach, great person, and they're punting, kicking it well. Their kicker's 2 out of 3, but he missed a 61-yarder they attempted, so he's got a great leg and two really good. Scott's one of the He's a punt returner as well, really good, and then their kickoff returner is exceptional too. I think he's had a 40-something yard return this year as well. So they're really a good team. The freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman quarterback played really well last week. I think they want to run the football. They should. Hunter's a really good running back, and their line's big and physical.
Now you're turning the page, but you went back and looked at the film and everything. What did it tell you? Anything jump out that maybe was different than you thought in game?
Well, not really. I mean, after I felt like I was pretty much knew what went on. And a lot of times you have to go back and see who played well and who didn't and all that. But schematically, we just didn't play well at all. They had the ball most of the first half, and 15-play drive to start it, 2-play drive to score again. We just didn't play well defensively, especially in the first half, and pretty much the entire game. Didn't tackle well. Had some missed assignments. Couldn't get lined up on some specialty blitzes. One of them, they were in the middle of the field. We worked it in practice. We just didn't get the communication right. Offensively, I think it's what you saw. I mean, what we saw after the game. We can run the ball. Probably need to run it more. But we can also throw it. We just weren't quite as accurate. Didn't run as good of routes as we could have, and we dropped 5 balls, and that certainly. That has a lot to do with winning and losing, but no, it was about what I thought after the game.
Why do you think it's so difficult sometimes to maybe get up for an opponent, maybe that's not have a big name on their chest? I mean, like we look at South Carolina week 1, they struggled against Old Dominion, then they blasted Kentucky, who played well against Georgia last week.
I think usually. You play a little bit better when you didn't play well. Hopefully you won the game, and you look at Kentucky, same thing. They were mad. They got focused and played a great game against Georgia. As much as you talk about, these games are about us versus us. I mean, the one Saturday was about us versus us. It's we had better players. Hopefully we had as good a coaching staff as they did, and the fire that you play with is something that's expected, and So I don't know for sure how, obviously I think all of us coaches would like to figure that out, but I think I heard Kirby say, they were mad, they were embarrassed the week before Kentucky. And, that's a little bit how we feel right now going into the Auburn game. So hopefully that's a good thing for us.
You guys were so assignment sound, it felt like against Oklahoma State. And then Landon said there were just guys out of their gaps in the first half and said, well, can you put your finger on how, I guess it folds into the last question, how you play so well and sound one game and then maybe not the next.
I think some of that, what happens is when you answer questions, sometimes it's like an excuse, but you have to answer the question. It's a good question. Um, some of it was we had a lot of guys that were hurt. They practiced, but the speed of practice, because we had them at all levels, hurt, wasn't what we want. Obviously, T. Will is vitally important to the teaching of defense and also the motivation. And he was gone out some, but we've got older players that understand that when they're supposed to be in the B gap, they're supposed to be in the B gap. I mean, I think a lot of times you don't get to that gap because you're not playing with the same urgency that you should be, and you get knocked out of your gap. I think it all boiled down to I don't think we played as hard as what we had in the first two games at times, and we have to get that fixed.
What can you say about the availability of Braxton, Nichols, Clark? I'm leaving somebody out. Oh, Kudus.
Well, Kudus will be out. Hudson, I would put him as doubtful. I think that comes out on Wednesday. You said Braxton. I anticipate Braxton being able to play. And you said somebody else, buddy. I forget who it was. Nichols. I think Nichols is better today than he was. He's better today than he was on Thursday of last week. So we thought he could play. Obviously, he couldn't. But I would anticipate him being ready to go.
I was wondering if maybe you guys have been struggling to get the tight end involved in the pass game, or if maybe that's just been part of the plan. But it seemed like maybe we thought Luke would, maybe be catching a little bit more passes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had any on Saturday. We certainly have targeted plays for him. One thing or another, it might be an errant throw, protection, whatever it may be, he might get covered. But we understand the value of him and certainly trying to get him the ball. We tried to get Gums the ball as well. And it just didn't work out, but we understand what we have in him, and Bobby and his staff are certainly targeting him the ball. It just didn't work out last week as much. I don't think maybe against Oklahoma State, I don't think he had a whole lot of catches as well, but the big one there to tie it up. But no, we know what we have. We're trying to get him the ball.
You guys prepared for Peyton Thorne last year when you played Auburn. You got Hank Brown. I guess, do you see anything different between the two on film, and maybe go a little bit more in depth on what you saw from Brown on Saturday?
Well, I think one game, from Brown, but the difference in their offense is really with Thorne, it was more of a read, zone read, keep the ball, give the ball, counter read, give the ball, keep the ball. They threw more RPOs with Brown. So it's the same principle. You're giving it or you're throwing it. I think with Thorne, a little bit more they gave it or he kept it. And it killed us last year, with him keeping the football. I don't know what he averaged per run, but it was a bunch. And that's really the difference. I don't think they changed a whole lot schematically throwing the football with their stops, their go routes, or their crossers. They ran a little bit more drop back with him. this past week, but I think I can't speak for coach, but I think Thorne was a great threat in running the football, and Brown may be more of a bigger threat of throwing it. He's got I mean, he can wing it now, and for his first game to throw 4 touchdowns, pretty impressive. But that's probably the biggest difference is run to pass versus run to run.
Sam, you revamped the offensive line in a big way this offseason with Mateos and 3 guys out of the transfer portal through 3 weeks. How have they kind of lived up to your expectations? Have they exceeded them? I mean, you guys are running the ball so well. Have you learned anything new about that unit?
Well, I think part of it, a lot of it is Coach Mateus and the new guys in. That's a lot of it. And Marion Harris is playing well as without Kudus in there. A lot of it has to do schematically with what we're doing. We're pulling, we're down blocking, we're doing more with those guys, which we can because they're a little more athletic. A lot of it has to do with the running backs. They're running extremely hard. I would like for us to be a little bit better pass protector. We're good when we get on the right guys. Our empty protection has been a Achilles heel a little bit for us this year. Certainly are working on, but we have made inside the 25 on just a simple slide that we should have slid to the corner coming off the edge, and we didn't, and it was a sack. So we just have to get clued in better assignment wise on empty protection, and we probably need to run the ball more. Bobby and I talked about it. He said, yeah, we're averaging a bunch over 6 carry and have some good backs. So really pleased because, I think you can end up winning close games when you can run the football. And so I'm really pleased with that part of it, but Eric's done a good job with them, and we hit on the transfer portal.
I know last year's loss to Auburn was a tough point for this in the season for you guys. Just how much, a lot of new guys this year, will it be a point of emphasis to bring that up at all? And how much of last year's game schematically might, be a part of the game planning this week?
Probably not a lot offensively, to be honest with you. Defensively, we don't want to run the same thing we did last year. I can tell you that. They want to run the football. We have to find a way for them not to. I mean, they're good at it. They're big. They're physical. Now I think they're really confident in throwing the football as well with Brown. But they're a run-first offensive football team. Defensively, schematically, again, with us having a new coordinator and them having a new, totally different package, it'll kind of be like a new deal between both of us from last year. But I thought they whipped us in special teams last year as well, and so we're trying to make some changes there. But we're similar defensively, us and them offensively. So obviously we've got to make a few changes to stop what they were doing last year.
We didn't get to ask you about this after the game, but UAB tried that onside kick in the first half. I just wonder if you thought that, the coverage and special teams was better last week than maybe against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't punt, so that part of it, was null and void. But we really had the one return, our coverage wise. Yeah, I thought we covered pretty well on the kickoff. I think they got it to the 27 maybe on the one, and then I thought we covered obviously it was a big play by Monte on the onside kick and did a really good job. I thought he was going to score, but he didn't, but he made a great play.
Coach Dilfer said after the game that they had identified a vulnerability, I guess. Is that something y'all have been able to identify yourself and shore up?
You mean the one that Monte did?
Yeah.
I mean, he kicked it right to him, so I don't know how vulnerable it was, I mean, he was standing right in front of the guy and he kicked it right to him. So maybe it was, but maybe we just made a good play. I don't know, but there was no void in there to kick it to. So I don't know really what he saw. You'd have to ask him.
And then with Talem, something we heard about all off season was just how great of a leader he was. I'm curious when things weren't going well for him on Saturday, how did that aspect of his game show through?
No, I don't think it bothered him much. I talked to him several times. It bothers you, but I mean, you got to flush it fast and get back out there. But you know, he's going to miss a pass. He's going to miss one Saturday too, but all we can go off of is how they perform at practice, and he's fantastic in practice, and he's been the great thing to answer your question. He makes a lot of plays with his feet when we needed it, and obviously the last touchdown was well blocked up, but he's fast and got around there and scored. But I think because of who he is and his leadership skills and all that, I think he lets things go a little bit faster than someone that maybe wasn't built like him mentally.
Travis Williams going back to Auburn. I know that that's a big deal for him, but maybe for this defense, having a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder to perform well for him back at his alma mater.
I hope so. I mean, we're counting on it. Obviously, the whole team knows that he played there, and he's well liked, well respected in the building, and on defense is obviously as well. We didn't play well, and so we've got to get that fixed. And if that's a little bit more inspiration to the kids, then we'll certainly use it.
Tyrone, I know obviously missing catches wasn't what he wanted to do on Saturday,
Yeah.
but the conversations with him to just kind of keep that confidence high. And
Yeah, I think, if you look at his passes, one, it would have been a great catch down the sideline. He makes those normally. The other one that was dropped was a quick catch, and, we kind of threw him into a little bit of a blow up right there. Those are ones that good players expect to catch. I felt like it bothered him a little bit, and there's good and bad in that. It can bother you, but you got to go. So we'll coach him up on that. But he's a veteran guy, and I think he'll come back strong this week.
Yeah, Sam, how's Mona played through 3 games, would you say, and what's he been doing well?
Yeah, I mean, he plays extremely hard. He's a good run blocker. He's a good pass protector. He just got to be consistent with his hands. But he's certainly a leader of, one of the leaders up there on the O-line. He plays extremely hard. He's physical. He's got to be more consistent with with his hands, not necessarily his pass set, but with his hands in pass protection.
And I know you obviously want to have Nichols back if possible, but after looking at the film, how did Wiggins grade out? What kind of?
Well, I think for his first game, he was fine. He made some mistakes. We're gonna look at others as well to see if we can have a competition there where we push guys. Certainly, we'd like to have Nichols back, but we needed a competition for the two center as well, and that's what we'll do this week.
Who else would be it?
Maybe Joe Moore, maybe Josh Street. But Joe's a veteran who played all of spring ball. I believe it was all of spring ball at Syracuse at center. And so he'd be another guy we'd certainly look at there.
Oh, especially in the days of the portal, Jarquez Hunter, I think he's been there 4 years.
Yeah.
It seems like about 1 million these days.
Yeah.
Just kind of what, I mean, he's been there the whole time you've been here, and you've been here 1 year longer, but what's your take on a guy being there anywhere that long and as productive as he's been?
Well, he certainly has had success, and he must like it there. He plays like he loves it there. I mean, he gets his shoulders turned, and he's a tank. He's a hard guy. He just what you want. He runs extremely hard, and obviously he's loyal to Auburn, and I'm sure they're excited about that. It's hard to keep any player for 4 years, or so. he must have a love and a loyalty for the university and for his coaches there. And wouldn't hurt me if he would have transferred, but he didn't. So we got to have a good plan for him. But I respect him. I respect him as a player. He's a very good football player. Plays a game like it should be played.
Luke wasn't as involved in the pass game Saturday as we're used to seeing. What do you think that was a result of? And I know that he said that his blocking this year was important to him to improve there. How do you think he's done in that?
He
respect?
certainly has improved his blocking. He's always had the will. It's just the technique probably, and he's improved his hands and I think he feels more confident and more comfortable in blocking and the pass receiving. We visited about that there for a minute while ago.
And then Maddox last year came in, I think 9 plays on Saturday. Seemed like good things happened. I was in on Braylon's run. Just what do you like from him?
He's physical. I mean, he's got one speed, and it's but that's where he come from with Coach Embry and them. They have tough players down there, and he's got a certain package that he comes in, and he's done a really fine job when he's in the game.
I was wondering, I don't know if they were trying to kind of attack the nickel and the linebackers, but they ran a lot of screen. Maybe they were trying to offset the pressure or something, but just what's your thoughts on your second level, and just the way that they, kind of attacked you guys with the screen a lot?
Well, we have to be better in the immediate flat area. And you're talking about, Trey, you're talking about screens, you're talking about nakeds too. Our eyes weren't good. They've got to get better, but those things aren't going to show up that much if you can get them on the ground, and at times we didn't have somebody immediately out there, and then at times we did, and we missed tackles. Someone going to throw a flare screen, someone's going to throw a stop in that nickel area, in that what I call first force area. You just got to tackle them, but our eyes were a problem in some of those, and then our tackling was, I thought, a major issue.
Another question, I forgot what I was going to ask, but
We'll come back to you. If you'd gotten the call right in the Auburn game in 20, the Fouché fumble recovery, the road team would have won 4
And
in a row in this series. So it's a little oddity there. And the 22 game was down there was one of your better games of that season. What can you speak to maybe those road performances?
I don't know. I mean, because you guys are talking about, I think Saturday night you was talking about home, and we've even talked about noise at practice on a home game. Because what happens with noise, your communication has to be better, because you're having it. Now it's just offensively, so it doesn't really affect the defense, but we've gone down there. It's right. My first year had a really good game. It was raining, if you remember. And then 2 years ago, we went out there, and then they came in here the last 2, just what you said. So hopefully the trend keeps going, and we can go up there, and I think we'll play really well. I think they will too, and we'll find out what happens. But we've seen to be able to handle the noise. If you look at on tape, and that's the one thing we're going to talk about today, every team that's been in there, of course, this is their 4th home game in a row, and our 3rd out of 4, on the road. But the 3 teams that they played at home have been affected by the crowd and the noise, so we have to take that out of the game if at all possible.
My question's about Landon, and it's kind of 2 parts. He got his hand, I think, on 2 passes on their final drive. And then also when the helmets came off, he was the next defender coming in both times. Do you have to train a guy to not hit him?
You have to. You have to avoid them. But man, that was hard. That was a bam deal. And I'm telling you what, we can't grab the face mask or the helmet. Man, their helmets come off easy, and we can't do that. But yeah, they're supposed to stop when that helmet comes off, and we're supposed to stop. Matter of fact, they keep going, it's a penalty on them, and if we keep going, it's on us. But that was so bam bam, they just didn't call it.
And then the passes at the end of the game, he tipped, how big those?
Yeah, big. I mean, we tipped it and TJ intercepted, and then he should have got down faster. But it was a big play. To be honest with you, they had a guy open down the seam for if he got the pass off. Potential they could have scored on that play. So really good. He's long, and Deke's done a nice job of. We've got to get to the quarterback. I mean, we're not hitting him. We're not. We got to find a way to get to the quarterback.
Remember my other question. It was actually about helmet, face masks and stuff, but I got another helmet question. The communication with the quarterback, how is that going so far? Has there been any changes? I've heard some schools say like they cut the communication at 25 seconds. Everybody's got a different philosophy. Have you guys changed anything, and how's that working so far?
No, we haven't changed anything, and it's worked well. I haven't heard either side. You know, we go over everything, you know, on Sunday, and neither side has said the communication has been bad. Obviously, it's harder when you go on the road, but our first 3 games we haven't had a problem with it. We've liked it.
Y'all use the full allotment of time if you take it
That
15 seconds.
plus.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, I think it's be the 3rd straight year you've faced Hugh Freeze. He's obviously got a really good overall record, but he's 8-8 at Auburn. You know, Auburn doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. Kind of, well, what do you think? How well do you know Hugh? What do you think of him? And you know, the SEC, man, it's tough because somebody loses every week. And I remember Spur used to talk about that. Thing people didn't understand is every time an SEC team wins, another one loses. But well, what do you thought about him trying to establish things or reestablish things at Auburn?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind he'll do a great job there. I mean, they play hard. They look the part. I think they're going to have a really good team throughout the entire season. I think there'll be a hard out for whoever plays them. I have high respect for Coach Freeze. He does a wonderful job. He did a wonderful job when he was at Ole Miss before, and really smart guy, smart offensively. I'm sure he is defensively too, but you know, offense is kind of his baby, and does a wonderful job.
I know you talked about Hank Brown some already, but and I know New Mexico, they're not an SEC team, obviously, but he, you know, first start, he throws 4 touchdown passes. Kind of how, just speaking as a football coach, how impressive is that, and how much confidence that probably gives that guy going into this game?
No, he was very impressive, and the thing, you know, anytime you get a new quarterback, you want him to not be pressured. They did such a great job of protecting for him, and he looked really comfortable in the game, running the offense, and was very accurate. And you know, if you didn't know he was a redshirt freshman, you wouldn't have known it watching the game. He did a wonderful job, and they did what he does well, and they protected him.
I think Steven Dix led y'all in tackles on Saturday, and it seemed like the defense played really well when he was in the game. I mean, what does he do well? And is he a guy that's maybe making himself like a candidate for more playing time?
Absolutely. Going into the game on Saturday morning when we had talked about playing him more. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. But for him, you know, he played a lot of ball before he got here, and he has a knack of finding the football. And sometimes we lose sight of where the football is with all the dressing going in. He doesn't seem to be one of those guys. He's very physical, and a guy that will continue to get more and more reps. He's playing well for us.
Probably say Travis Williams knows Petrino's offense inside and out by now. I was wondering,
It's hard because there's a lot of it,
Yeah.
you know.
I was wondering if the same might be true for DJ Durkin. I know he was a little more handcuffed at Texas A&M versus the freedom he gets here, but wondering if the same might be true on the other side.
Yeah, I would think
Durkin.
so. We certainly have talked about that. Bobby's, Bobby's got so much offense that some of the things that we're doing, he wasn't necessarily, like you just spoke of, wasn't necessarily able to do at A&M, whether it be personnel driven or whatever the reason was. So we've got things that there's similar things that we're doing that coach would know about, and then there's some things that certainly are different for us. And once you, besides the verbal part of it, Trey, once you get to 3 games in a season, you pretty much, I don't know if there's a greater advantage because he coached, whether coach with Bobby or not, besides the verbal stuff. If he knows the verbal things about it, then that could be an advantage for him.
Sam, I noticed against UAB, I think after the first kickoff, y'all put Rodney Hill back on kickoff
Yeah.
return. What went in that decision? And also, do y'all have like a set rule on like when to fair catch or when to return it or anything like that? Or is it all up to the
On the
return man?
kickoff,
Yes.
well, we tell them. If we want to fair catch it, we'll tell them to fair catch it. So, but otherwise they're not going, depending, we're a yard deep, and if it goes over our head, it's over. And, no, Rodney, I wanted him in there. I wanted him, he's done well in practice. So I told, Scott to put him in there and see what he could do. I have a lot of faith in him. So that was the only reason he was in there. Wasn't anything about Isaiah or anything.
And then speaking of Rodney, I mean, how do you feel like he's done on offense? I know most of the attention, I understand he's been on Jaquindon, but he's been at least pretty productive so far in
He
limited
has,
opportunities.
Runs extremely hard, holds on to the football, knows his assignments, a willing blocker in pass protection, can catch the ball outside. And he's, we said it as we're watching the tape, he's exactly who we thought we were going to get, a guy that's not as big, but a guy that runs really hard. And I think he's a good change up for JJ. All right, guys. Thank you.